Okay, so validation. So the loan amount has to be between 100,000 and 2 million. How to do that? Go data validation, right? To do what? Whole number, and it's between 100,000 and 1 million. So if I enter $50,000, it's gonna give me error. So this is when I say user entry. So the other one, the second validation is the down payment can be more than 75,000. You do the same thing. Annual interest list of values from 2% to 11 as 0.25 increment. How do you do that? Create a list. So you can create this on the side. Start with 2%, 2.25, right? And you drag it until you hit 11, I think. Oops. 2.25%. Oops, it's too much. And then what you do for the interest, I go data validation, make it a list. And the list is here. Just select this list. Something off here, but that's fine. The goal is you fix it, you set up your list, and then you select your values. So either less or a number between or greater than or less than. And the last one, the data validation, I think that's it. Loan duration, 10 to 30 years, no decimal. Means what? The first one, loan amount, I don't care if you put a decimal or whole number, but this means it has to be whole number. So loan duration has to be, choose here, whole number between decimal whole number, has to be whole number. Between 10 and 30. So data validation couldn't be simpler than that. I'm not going to ask for anything more complex. Okay. What else? So let me just open a solution. Which one is that? Let's show you the quarters. For example, the quarters from the first one. So see, they have to fill control home. Some people did a VLOOKUP like this one. Yeah, for each month you specify which quarter, and then you do a VLOOKUP for the month of C5, month of that date. Look it up here. There's many ways to do it. You can do if statement like we've seen it before. You can do run it. There's many ways. You can do it the way you want. Now the day of the week. Hold on, did I say? Probably it did. Okay, then I have to do that. So the day, I didn't specify how to show, create a logic to show the day of the week when the sales occurred. I didn't specify how, just reflect the day. So some people simply use weekday. The weekday function return a number from 1 to 7. 1 is Sunday, 7 is Saturday. So they simply, this is one way to do, use the if statement. Another way to do it is to use this date, but you format it, you custom format it. You custom format it to show day only. So 3Ds gives you abbreviation and 4Ds give you the full name. That's simple. This is one way. Another way to do it is to use, instead of using this custom formatting, exactly the same logic, you can use the text function. You specify the value and then the mask. This is DDDD. It's also Tuesday. You don't have to go through all that. So I didn't specify. Many students, they choose different ways. As long as I see the day of the week here, I don't really care how you do it.
The lab next version of 2013 or 2016?
2013. Okay. So here you have pivot tables per quarter and pivot tables per quarter per columns per days of the week. Something actually seems to be off here. But this is the second chart, and this is just chart. So once you create these two, the rest is just to put a pivot table together. Yes.
You just create one, just
Create one what?
one pivot table.
So let's go back to the question. Stretch my memory a little bit. The return value, day names has to be 3. First, let's fix this. I'm not going to use this. Use the text function and use 3Ds. Leave it. Delete this one. So the question is, create a second pivot to show the quarterly and total sales per day of the week, quarters in rows, days in columns. So I don't know if I can be even more specific. I'm telling you exactly what goes in the rows, what goes in the columns. So if I want to create a new pivot table, did I delete that? Hold on, let me delete this. Insert pivot table. So the data range is from an existing worksheet. We'll put it right here. Yes. Okay. So you'll simply put the quarter in the rows, and the day of the week in the columns, and the sale amount is the total value. Sales amount and total value. And then you format these. Let me close this. And these are formatted as money. And typically for these large values, I just remove the decimal points. And from this, the chart, go back to the question. Create a column chart to display the data in the pivot table. Simplify the y-axis, changing from thousands, remove decimal points. So you can do it either standard chart, or you can use a pivot chart. Q1 and Q2, it's right there. And what am I doing? The y-axis format line, and we said the units are in thousands and no decimal points. Then I go to number. By default, should be negative. I select currency with 0 decimal points, and I close. So that's the whole question. So once you get your data, pivot table like straightforward. Okay. So I know we started a bit late, so we still have time. I'm here till 9 o'clock for the class. If you guys want to stay after, have questions, I'll be here. So any specific questions you want to open a little bit for the homework? We're going to go through the homeworks quickly. If anyone has a specific question on previous homeworks, yes.
Advanced filtering.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get to the advanced filtering. That's already on the list. Anything else?
Wait, so this was at 125?
This was, this is 25 points.
Mm-hmm.
Financial problem 25, that's 50. See, almost there. This one, 5 points was supposed to be easy. And the import is 5 points, so that's another 10 points. So you have 60. Get in there. Now the last one, let's go over it quickly, the solver. This was the first time I gave a solver question this way. No, this is the solution. Hold on. Okay, so here's the problem. Let's say you work at Amazon or your own company. So we have orders by 4 people. 35,000 for different amount. So let's say for the simplicity you sell one item, but you have two distribution centers, one in Texas, one in Vermont. So the shipping cost is different, depends where you're shipping from. Okay. So the cost to ship to Tom from Texas is $1 per piece. To ship to Jessica is $3, and so on. For every order, the shipping cost is different, depends on the destination where these people are from. Now, typically, just looking at these, for each one, for Tom, you want to preferably ship from Texas, right? For Jessica, you want to ship from also Texas. For Helene, you want to ship from Vermont, the same for Mike. But the problem, these two centers, they have limited different inventory. So how much, the question is, this is how much you need to ship to each one, from where, to optimize, to minimize your shipping costs. Simple. So this is one solver problem.
How much is that for?
It's only 25, I think.
Lost it all.
Okay. Now hold on. You have 15 points to
Once you calculate.
Yeah, after you if you don't
fill the actual total shipping cost per customer. So 15 points, actually, if you just put the formulas, 10 points is, so the tricky part is only 15 points. And a lot of students actually got partial credit for that. Only 4 did it correctly. Why? You could be one of these 4.
I highly doubt it.
5.
By the time I get to that, I probably time would be up.
Yeah, I know.
We have an
I'm
option
probably not getting
not to finish it or to finish and then punish or not finish at some time.
You do your math. Create a solver problem for that. That's actually it. So is it worth it to lose like all 10 points or try to get something but for sure lose more? So it's a bet. But hopefully you won't get into that situation, but let's go over how quickly we can solve it. So first, the shipping cost. So this is how this works. First, you need to fill these to find out how much you need to ship for each one for Tom from either Texas or Vermont. And this is the total of these, the shipping from both should add up to how much you ordered total, right? You ordered 35,000. You ship 33,000 from Texas because it's cheaper for him, and the remaining from Vermont. So.
Did you do that by hand or is that
No, this is solver will do that. I'm telling you where you start. So this is your entry. Solver has to fill these, right? Is that once you fill this, how do you calculate the total shipping cost? The shipping cost will be 33,000 times 1 plus 2,000 times 250. That will fill up here. That's the 10 points pretty much. Even before you know the numbers here, you should be able to figure the formula out here. And I'll give you full credit for that.
Just for putting the formula in.
Just for putting the formula, because once the numbers here are plugged in, this will be calculated, right? And this is simply total ship to Tom. It's simply adding these up, and this should match this.
So you have to put a logical constraint at that.
Right. So this will be sum of these two. So the logical constraint, you need to put the formula in here. So whatever number solvers puts here, make sure the total doesn't be not exceed or even less. It has to be exactly. You need to make sure you ship the exact amount. And whatever numbers are put here, the total of these should not exceed the available inventory. So the whole thing is about managing constraints. You cannot ship to Tom more than what he orders, regardless from where, and you cannot ship from what's in the same warehouse more than what the warehouse has. So now you appreciate how much Amazon put into work, how they manage their logistics. With how many millions of items and millions of customers, where to ship from. Is it hard?
So when you run
So the goal is to
solver,
minimize shipping costs,
yeah, I was
right?
gonna say
Correct.
that when you run
So the
solver.
total shipping cost basically will be basically or the sum of these. See, this is 206 at the bottom. So here we use the sum product. You guys, we spoke about it last time when we went over homework 2, I think. The sum product, basically, if you have 2 columns or 2 rows, you want the total of the multiplication of every pair. Use sum product. So when I use here sum product of B8, B9, and B14, B15, hold on. So I have sum product of these 2 plus sum product of these 2. So sum product of these is basically this times this, plus this times this, plus this times this, plus this times this. This is how the sum product works. You can put the formula manually, or you can use sum product. But you know typically how the math. Quantity times price plus quantity times price plus quantity price. You can do that in parallel rows or in parallel columns. You can use sum products. It's an array, could be either way. So this is the total of the shipping cost. Now let's look at the solver formula. So what's the goal is? To minimize C18, total shipping cost, by changing what? B14 to E15, to change this purple. How much is being shipped from every warehouse? What are the constraints? B16 has to be equal to B3. That means this about the quantity shipped. So this has to be equal to this. This has to be equal to this. And then D16 has to be equal to D3. Make sure for every one exact amount is shipped. Now the last constraint is what? F14 and F15. D should be less or equal than the available inventory. You don't have to ship everything, but you cannot ship more than what you have.
With the first 4 constraints, they could have been 1, right? You could have just dragged it.
Or could you have just put it in the chart?
No, you could have
Probably.
You could have dragged it.
Probably you could.
Like instead of doing the sum for in B16, could you have just made that equal to B3?
Which one? The sum
So
of?
like where that's, yeah, so like the 3500 and B16 is doing the sum of B14 and 15.
You want this to be equal to
Equal to that?
No, because this will be the constraint, because as these numbers change, this should change. This is the kind of audit. You need to make sure that this is the total is being shipped, has to equal to that.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
solver,
This is total is shipped to Tom.
yeah, because solver's going to try to put as
Correct.
small value there as possible if you don't do that.
Correct.
Oh, right, okay. That'll try to change.
So the constraint basically is on these, has to be equal to these. And you cannot ship from inventory more than every warehouse has. It's easy.
Can you look at the question how it's phrased? How quickly
Sure.
you can understand?
Okay. So use solver. Okay, this sheet contains a summary of order for customers. The product can be shipped from 2 warehouses, Texas, Vermont, at different cost. Use solver to find how many items should be shipped from each warehouse, as specified the cells B14 to E18, the purple area, to each to minimize the cost of shipping, which is cell 18. You need to create the formula. So the formula is not there. Keep in mind that each warehouse has limited supply and each customer has certain demand. Consider using some product to calculate the cost on cell 18. It's in English. Okay. So this was kind of 15 points. Some people got like halfway through it. They put some constraint correct, some others not. So they got partial credits for those. Okay, so these are done, and so this was the midterm last semester. What else? So I'll post this online, as I mentioned, except for the first question solution. I'll put that on Friday. So we're gonna over the homeworks. Homework one, it's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna go over it unless you have a question about homework one. It was simple. Well, it was a bit misleading, but total average sales per county, yeah. So yeah, just calculate the totals and averages, total average per country or per month. Get the deltas, changes. I'm not gonna waste time on this. Let me close this and workbook. Okay. Homework 2. You're not gonna have a question like this in the midterm about the currency fluctuation, but I expect that you guys pay more attention to the less than or less or equal what the range is.
Do you have that many categories again?
Not that many,
That's a little
maybe two less, or to be honest, I haven't thought of the midterm yet exactly what the question. I have some ideas in mind, but that'll be my weekend exercise. See, while you guys enjoy the weekend, I'll be putting the midterm together. So, any question on this? You guys have a question on yearly sales? And again, just pay attention to the formulas. Maybe. They're definitely going to be an import question.
Oh, with like something screwy.
A little bit, not much. That's for sure.
When
So
you import, can you copy and paste, or you have to use the import?
depends on the format of your data. You figure out. I'm going to give you a text file. You figure out how you're going to import it. You can type it in if you want.
Homework 4, you said import, but then like you import it, but the data you still need to kind of reconfigure. It doesn't matter if we import that data because it's in Excel anyways. Like homework 4.
I mean, if I'm going to give you a text file with some either CSV or pipe delimiter or something, so you have to import it. If you can figure out to prepare it in the homework. No, your homework I gave you the data. Yes, you did that in homework 3, I think.
The second question is said import/copy, so I was like, wait. So the first one said import, the second one was import.
But either way, they're
So
all
there's
Excel.
difference.
Import or copy.
And the other one just said import.
Depends.
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
No. You sure that's the homework 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, one says import, the other says import/copy.
Really?
It's not a text file.
Yeah, they're all Excel, that's why.
They're
it's
all
like-
Excel, so just
Oh yeah. So if they're all Excel, yeah, you can, because technically you still can import from Excel, but it wouldn't make sense. If you're gonna do it, but you can just copy paste. So as long as you get the data there, how you get it doesn't matter.
Can you tell how we got this?
No, as long as they match. As long as they match. I mean, for the midterm or even the homework, I can tell if your data is correct. Typically, I like say sales data. I just select all the sale amount. I know the total, the right total. So if your total doesn't add up, means you missed something else. You have the count on the total. How many records you imported, and what's the total of those. If you get those right, you're good. So the long calculators, straightforward again. And these are standard formulas, nothing magic was used. Here's the trick, was the problem solving, how you're gonna do that. So nothing also much from homework 2.
So there is no currency fluctuation involved?
You wanna do it?
No, no.
I'll give you something like this, but slightly more just for you. This is your own midterm private copy. Personalized midterms. Yes. Actually, you know what? It would be a good idea. Get like 10 different types of, or three Actually, in some classes they do that. You have two types of midterms, type A, type B. So two students each other, they don't have the same midterm.
Because you can copy this.
I mean, in this case, I don't have this situation, so I'm not gonna do that. Like pick three as like randomly select one. But no, I wouldn't do it. Actually, it wouldn't be fair. So now that you really have time to look to your side. Okay, homework 3. Look at the questions quickly. This is the import data. We went over this as if statement. Advanced filtering, we'll look at that. And data analysis, again, you're always going to have some kind of pivot table on a chart. So consider these bonus questions. So you have Q1, Q2, and create a pivot table to show that. And column chart, data salesman, this is also another pivot table. So this is you can do that in addition to the pivot table. Financial problem, scenario manager. The only trick here is basically before the thing was, hold on, let me get my marker. Some people kind of didn't realize properly in scenario manager. When you create the payment formula, this is the payment, right? You feed in what? The present value, right? The rate, the number of payments, and then this we're going to spit out the monthly payment. When you feed these into it from 3 different scenarios, they should be normalized or aligned. Because when you use this same formula or same section to run scenario manager, you cannot distinguish that for the first scenario the rate is semi-annual, but the second one is annual. Because if it's annual, you're going to divide the rate by 12. If it's semi-annual, you have to divide the rate by 6. But you only have one formula. So you need to say the rate here has to be annual, because my formula divides the rate by 12. Therefore, when you feed these into the scenario manager, you need to convert these to annual. So semi-annual, this 2% becomes 4% when you put in scenario manager. And this you leave it as is, and the quarterly becomes 8%.
Or monthly without dividing it.
Or monthly without it. But you need to make them all, you feed them the same way. That's what's the trick here. So if you put the formula with the assumption that the rate is monthly, then you need to convert all these to monthly. So when you build your scenario manager, put each scenario, you put the Camrys, yes, this is 29,850, but if it's monthly, then this goes to, divided by 6 will be 0.67. And same thing with annual, divide this by 12, and quarterly is the same. The standard is annual. So anytime you have rates at different terms, convert them, create another annual rate. You notice the interest, I didn't mention here, annual interest. Is an interest, and what's the interest term? This is 2% semi-annually. That means it's 4% annually. So this whole question is about that trick. Just see if you guys are going to pay attention to that or not. Everything else is straightforward around it. It's scenario manager, then base. If you get this right, then you will find out which one is the lowest payment. You take these loan terms and you create the payment schedule for. Question? Yes.
So the interest rate there is not the annual interest rate.
Here?
The 2%.
2% is semi-annual. It's the interest term. It's 2% every 6 months.
Actually, that's different from what I learned from finance class.
This is kind of simplified. Ideally, if you're talking about compounded, yes, it wouldn't be exactly the
What I
same.
understand is that the annual interest term is 2%, and it's compounded like twice because it's semi-annual.
No, otherwise I would say this is compounded semi-annually. I would say this is annual interest compounded semi-annually.
Okay.
But all the interests are compounded monthly in this case. So because we do a monthly payment is monthly term.
Oh, yeah.
So the term of payment is monthly. We pay every month.
So my homework is I thought it was like compounded like twice for the first one because it's semi-annually, the second is annually, so it's just one. And then doing the plotter is 4 times, so that's why when I put the formula, and then the formula is totally different. So the rate is two, let's do this, the first one, 2%, divided by 2.
Yeah, I
And
did
then
the 40
number of,
times
yeah, it's totally different from what I learned.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was, how it was, but no.
Yeah, right, and also I saw that the PMP is not the payment per month, it's payment per term, like say the.
Yeah, but for the scenario manager, again, even if that's the case, scenario manager cannot cannot compare 3 scenarios with different terms. So it depends how you put your payment formula here, what your assumption for the rate. If your assumption for the rate is monthly, you need to feed the number as a monthly.
Yeah, that's why I did it like that, because so that it'll all be on the same term, so they all be annual. That's why it's divided by 1, and this was already annual, and then this is divided by 4, because that's how it's compounded.
I'll look how you did it. Let you know. Okay.
The homework wasn't graded yet.
4? 3 almost done. You'll have it on by Friday or Saturday max. Do you guys want to have the grades before the midterm or after? No, I'll have them before. You'll have them by Friday.
No.
If you don't want your grade by Friday, let me know. I won't post it. Yes.
The homework that's due on Friday, I know that you probably can't get that back to us for the midterm, but you release.
I'll leave the solution at 7 o'clock on Friday. You'll have the solution posted. As soon as the deadline is kicks in, I'll post it.
Right.
And if you have questions on it, you just feel free to email me. Okay. Price point analysis. This is exactly what we did in the homework. So, this is homework 3. Oh, I'm sorry. No, because it was in another exam. So, okay. We did go over it in class, but let's go over it again. And somebody said the solution wasn't posted. I have in mind, I thought it was. So I'll post this tonight. So we spoke about how we could, the income statement, the cost of material, how this 419 could be calculated from here. Or we could use some product. So the question is that we have the current price point. That's how much the lathe sells for, and that's how much the price. And therefore, that's revenue. So based on the market analysis, let's say the assumption was the elasticity is 125. So based on the formula we have, we had to calculate the how much the demand will be, or the units sold or we will sell, based on different price settings. So if we set the price to 1,000 from 1,400, we'll sell more. The sale will go from 2,800 to 3,800, but the revenue will go down because now you're selling for less. So this graph basically shows how the revenue will change with the price. Depends how much you sell for. The quantity you sell will change, but the revenue also will change in this format. So the goal of this exercise is to figure out what's your goal to maximize revenue. So what is the sale price you need to sell your product at to maximize the revenue? And the second part of that question is how to do that considering you have constraints. First, to do the graph, we did a one-dimension table. We changed the price range from 500 to 2,000, and we used the data table with the price and revenue to create all the combinations. And we charted it with an XY, so the XY scatter plot. I don't know why it's actually all the way down here. Okay. And this one, the red dot is, so basically we put the results, the current price point, we just put them here. For $1,400, the revenue will be $3,920,000. This is the current price point, which is this one. So this is where we stand. But we need to optimize this to maximize that. So when we use solver, without any constraint, let me delete this first. I need to maximize D13 by changing the price, because this revenue is unit price times quantity. And also quantity changes by price. So I have one entry point will change, the unit sold will change the revenue. So we'll maximize D13 by changing D12. Will give us, this is 1260. This is your optimum price, and this is the peak of the curve. 3,969,000. So this is your optimal price point.
Are there price point and optimal price point not formulas?
These? Ideally, I would put this as, because these are fixed, the initial ones. And this will be, actually, this should be a formula. Not formula, just a link. Actually, it will show you if you put this, let's say, 1150. You see slides over there. You can put this formula or you can put it static once you find it, doesn't matter. So the third point, basically, you can put optimal price point with constraint. Is if we want to account for the inventory. So if every piece we produce uses one piece of 8-inch tube, 3 pieces of the second one piece of the focuser, and 1 piece of the extended mount, how much we can practically produce. So this is how many parts are available in the inventory. So we need to be able to find out how much our orders, how we can link how many parts will be ordered of each piece compared to how much we're producing. So if for every unit here we use one of these, then the formula here will be, it's D11 times H5, correct? Same thing for the second one. So if you produce 3,150, then we need 9,450 of this piece to produce all this amount. And this is basically remaining. If I have this much in inventory, I use this much, this how much is left, which is the difference between these two. So the goal basically is I can produce as many as I want as long as the order don't exceed, any of them doesn't exceed what I have. So all of these must be positive. The remaining has to be greater or equal to 0. So that's the constraint on the solver. So go back to solver. I have the same condition. I need to add one constraint, which is this range has to be greater or equal to 0. And then I can solve to that. It seems it is also 1260.
Yeah, I
So
was going to say they're not binding, because you see, you still have remaining with the optimal solution.
it's true.
So it's not binding.
So if I take, for example, let's say, I'll change the rate a little bit. Let's say I have shortage of this. If I run solver again, so I have to sell for more, so I can produce less. So this will be 1273, for example, and 39,68599. Not much difference. Even if you put it on the graph, it's not going to be any format. Oh, see, this one I had this. I had a static. So this is how you use solver pretty much. Okay. So this homework 3.
You missed the advanced filtering.
We're gonna go to advanced filtering. Time. Oh, advanced filtering. Where did we have that? Was it this homework or?
Yeah, it is this only. Homework 3, homework 3.
Was the homework 3?
So welcome.
Hello. Advanced filtering. Homework, hold on. That's, oh, the data. Let me close this. Homework 2 solution. Homework 3 questions. Okay. Okay, I think I'm missing this here. Thanks for that. Okay, seems I messed up. Okay, we'll do it. So the question is, you need to do advanced filtering where the sales record has to be sports car by 2 salespeople, right? And has to be luxury and either January or February 2016. Okay. Okay. So let me see. So let's start with first condition. First condition has to be what? You have sports car by these 2, correct? So the first salesman has to be salesman has to be Eder and Enki and sports car. So this is how you put it.
Can we put it in one
No.
cell only?
You cannot. So you need sports car by the first salesman and sports car by the second salesman. That will meet the first condition.
For selecting the table in that the advanced filter, should we select the whole thing or just the salesman and the car type category?
For this one, no, you can select these.
No.
You didn't miss anything.
When applying the advanced filter, we say.
No, you have to select the whole table.
I'm talking about the table on top. Yeah.
This one?
Yes.
I'd rather you select everything, just to match the columns of the table.
So if we
Okay.
have only that condition, just A and B, like right now.
Okay.
So can we just select the AB column and also AB from the?
No, you have to select the whole table to filter.
Main table,
Yes.
but from the top also we need
So
to
select, hold on, list of range. This is what you need. And the table, this is your criteria.
Yeah, I did 2 different
And the second
pages. There was like
That's fine.
1 and 2.
For
I
the,
didn't know to combine them.
that's fine.
yes.
If you only use one sports car, I think you can say.
But I think sports car, maybe I want to exclude this case sports car sold by other salesmen. I want sports car only sold by these 2 salesmen.
Yeah, you can do that.
But isn't in this case, if you're gonna do this, you should start with the second one, you need to tweak the top sale date, set sale date?
The sale date?
Yeah.
The
Can
sale
you
is
include the second?
You kind of do from the second one going to the first one, otherwise it's not gonna work.
I'll think about it.
Specific.
Can you just do this?
Hold on, January, February 20. So the second one,
Yeah.
January, February 2016. So ideally, I would add
Yeah, that's good.
2 years, month and year.
You manipulated the data.
I didn't I added column. I didn't manipulate the data.
But we can even add two columns for sale date and
Yeah, sale
present the
date and
date.
sale
We were
date.
trying.
I tried, I did with adding the sale date.
Yeah, I did
once.
same like
That would be the first and
But it
then
doesn't
starting
work.
and end. It works.
Yeah, it works.
So I didn't get what you're saying. So you,
So for the
So
sale
instead of
date,
sale
I added
amount,
one.
the second is gonna be sale date and another column is gonna be sale date again. So this is how you're gonna filter from January to February. So the whole task is gonna have a different
Sale date.
and sale date again.
you can do that, yeah.
Right now we can just input one sale date, like one
Well,
point of
everything's
time. If
2016,
we put
there's
two
no
sale dates, we
much
can
time.
input two range of times, so that, like, rather than.
You said you did that?
Different year.
What's your name again?
I did it both ways, like combined and individually as well.
Sales date. Yeah, you can do it this way, but you did it like three filters separate,
Yeah,
three
I did
separate
it
filters,
separately as well as combined.
which is fine.
Yeah, this one.
But this one should work. Combine all these. Has to be luxury car, graded this. But demonstrate you can do it this way. Also, you can do it like to be more visible. You can select month and year.
So and in sale that you, can you use it?
Yeah, greater than.
Yeah.
You want me to apply this? Take this condition?
Your way. What you're telling.
What I was trying to do, basically, do the month. What you call it? So you call the month of the date, right? And this equals the year of this. So what's the condition? The condition is January or February 2016, correct? So, and I need to add, where's luxury car? Right. So luxury car 1 2016 and luxury car 2. This is one way. You could do it actually less or equal than 2, but 2016 actually. This should do it.
The only reason that works is consecutively.
What I did was in sale date, I just added less than, that was the only thing.
In this case, because you know your earliest date is 1 2016, but if you have dates before, they will do it.
That in this case, it's okay.
No, it's okay because I specifically mentioned this is data for this year, so you know there is no 2015 data will be included.
Oh, I know, I was trying to figure it out, I'm just like, oh, it's less than two.
If I would
and then-
know that you could add anything possible,
Yeah.
There's different ways to do it. You can do it that way. You can do it
Even
this
I
way.
didn't know if we could add more this time.
You didn't ask.
Now, that is the question I have to go for right now.
Okay.
how do you do this?
So for the.
Did you give a lot of A's, Professor?
Okay, people.